Everybody, welcome back to Off the Wall. I'm Mike.
And I'm Sol.
I'm Bogz.
Hey, it's a Christmas miracle. We got all three of us on camera at the same time for once. I don't know how we made this happen, but we're not here to talk about Christmas. We're here to talk about Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which dropped on Netflix this past week. We did a trailer reaction to this beginning of the year, and when we famously confused it for the other Pinocchio remake that was coming out this year, and got a chance to watch it, all of us, of the last couple of days. I'll kick it off and just say, like, I loved it. Was shocked by how much I loved it, honestly. Little long in the tooth, but ultimately an absolute just masterclass in the quality of stop motion animation and writing and dedication to. It is very evident in this how much Guillermo del Toro loves and appreciates this story and wanted to make something very much like a passion project. Bogz, we'll go to you next. Like, overall, what'd you think of this thing?
Yeah, enjoyed it, to be fair. And I do like Guillermo del Toro just generally as a filmmaker, you know, with the kind of sprinklings of creatures and monsters and horror elements in his kind of stories that often involve like a good versus evil storytelling with a child as the protagonist. You know, you could think certain aspects of Hellboy and like Shape of Water. Obviously, they're not kids, but like they're adolescent-ish. Or Pan's Labyrinth, of course. You know, it's done via this medium, this prism of storytelling of a child. You see the world through this child's eyes. It's normally against Nazis or something in World War II or World War One. Like all their movies are involving Nazis as well. So it's a familiar pattern. And yeah, yeah, exactly. And yeah, this is it's in that pattern as well. You know, some surprises. You know, it's actually a bigger scale movie than I thought it was. Like, it's a bit of an epic tale. You know, kind of go to war a little bit, and you know, all the other creatures and stuff like that, and the kind of mythology that they add to it. So yeah, I was definitely impressed. Obviously, it's a masterpiece at times in terms of the filmmaking, you know, the stop motion animation, the puppets, the set design, some of the cinematography, you know, the sound design. I noticed several times. I quite like the score as well. So all that's amazing. I do have some negatives as well. Like I said, it was not perfect. Sorry, I really liked the voice acting as well across the board. I mean, if you actually check the cast, it's fantastic. From top to bottom, the cast is amazing. And I did think it was too long. Like the middle part of the movie, I was getting a little bored. I was yawning a little bit. I'll kind of come to which moments later, but it definitely picked up at the end. I did prefer the second half of the movie to the first half. But overall, I had a good time. Definitely a right time to release around Christmas. And I'll say it didn't hit me in the feels like I thought it would. You know, I didn't get emotional at any point or anything like that. It was just, yeah, I was just impressed by the movie, and yeah, especially the actual cinematics of it and things like that. So yeah, it was fun. Bit too long, but overall, yeah, glad I watched it.
And so, what about you? What did you think of this one?
I loved it. The animation was great. The voice cast was great. The just every little like aspect of the movie I really really enjoyed. There are like a few nitpicks here and there if you really want to get very critical of the movie, but for the most part it just was a phenomenal viewing of it, and I really really enjoyed it.
Yeah, the voice cast in this was absolutely incredible. Ewan McGregor is one of my favorite actors, like, period. And I thought him as Sebastian J. Cricket was an absolute tour de force. I mean, he was having the time of his life. Like, I want to see just like all kinds of, you know, like camera footage of him recording. I want to see how animated he gets. I want to see how much fun he was having. It was Kate Blanchett as a monkey. Cool. Don't think I ever would have predicted that one. Tilda Swinton playing both the Blue Fairies. Ron Perlman as an Italian, you know, Nazi trainer soldier type guy. I mean, I'm probably forgetting one off the top of my head right now, but it's absolute loud. Christoph Waltz, for crying out loud! My God, I haven't seen him in much lately, and this gave me such this gave me such Inglorious Bastards vibes. The way he was so manipulative and would switch into the languages in and out, and was so sinister and evil, and he's so good at that. I loved the voice cast the most. Definitely think Ewan McGregor was my favorite one though, because he kind of was the, I think, much needed source of levity in what was ultimately a fairly dark take on, well, the book itself. I don't know if you, I know Soul hasn't read it. Boggs, I don't know if you've read the book or not either. I read it once. It's very good. It's pretty dark. And this one does a great job of capturing it as well. And so having the cricket there as that, occasionally he gets squished and it's hilarious, and you laugh about it. Or he tries to break into a song about his dad, and the movie says, no, we've got to move forward. So it was great.
My favorite part
in there. What about you, Boggs? Any particular voice cast in particular that really stood out to you with this one?
Yeah, it was Ewan McGregor and David Bradley who played Geppetto.
Thank you.
Yeah, they got from Game of Thrones fame and loads of other things, but yeah, they were the standouts. I did like the whole the blue fairy godmother type being creature. I love it had a very Studio Ghibli-esque look about it, and Guillermo del Toro does have that slight horror creature involvement with the prosthetics and things like that. The creepiness almost about it, like Shape of Water, Pan's Labyrinth, Hellboy, etc. He brought that into this as well. So I did feel like I was watching a little bit like Spirited Away, especially like the forest kind of creatures and things like that. So yeah, the voice cast was really good. It was really strong. Obviously, this is I guess it's classed as a musical as well. They are musical. There are songs in it. A few musical numbers. Obviously, nothing from the Disney movie or anything like that. But yeah, even the songs I enjoyed, because they were all short. They were all a minute or so, weren't they? They weren't kind of big numbers or anything like that in terms of like the Disney one. But yeah, there were the standouts really. The kid did good as well. I kind of like the dialogue as well. The kid always kept it simple and sweet. Always was like honest and things like that. And you spoke about being it dark as well. I think Pinocchio is a dark story. It's not as joyful and happy, because it deals with a lot of issues about society, whatever social issues, about acceptance, about death, about in the end, it's not necessarily a happy ending as well. It's life goes on. You have to deal with loss and things like that. You shouldn't dwell necessarily too long on the past and things like that. It actually deals with these kind of things. So I kind of like all the different messages it touches on, and the movie didn't shy away from that. Sometimes I kind of wish it stayed on more things, and I even like the mythology they built around him coming back to life, and him jumping, breaking the glass and then coming back. So yeah, it was a voice acting, but it was also the kind of engagement throughout the story about, oh, okay, we're dealing with Nazis now. Okay, we're dealing with father and son stuff now. Oh, okay, it's this other world being spiritual creatures. So yeah, I liked a lot of aspects about the performances, not just the voice acting, like the storytelling, the character development, things like that. So yeah, they were some of the strongest parts for me.
Yeah, you mentioned that like the musical numbers are only like a minute long or so. I think that was because it is I mean, when you look at like on Wikipedia, it says it is a musical, and it is a musical. I mean, the characters do sing, but as opposed to like in a Disney movie where the musical number just kind of stops the movie dead, and we're going to sing for a little while and then we're going to resume the plot. This one, it was woven in with Alexander Desplat's score, so where you never knew if a song was about to start or not, and then it was over about as they did just enough to convey what was happening. I love the song Pinocchio's, the My Papa song he sings when he's with the touring company. I love that song so much. But then we do what we need to do, and then but the plot is still going on while the song is happening, and then we just kind of get back into it. Soul, what about you in terms of the voice cast and the music with this? Any big standouts?
Well, before I forget too, the other thing that I loved about it is just the setting of where this Pinocchio story was set in. They have it in fascist Italy during World War II, and you have El Duce, uh, Benito Mussolini, and he's actually in the movie. I didn't like when they showed the setting, I didn't expect to see Mussolini in the movie. So that was, and then also Pinocchio being petty I was just like, oh, I'll show you, and singing about farting and pooping. So just being a child, and
Mm,
I loved it. Um, but yeah, basically the same. Ron Perlman goes. David Bradley. You always see him like in Harry Potter. He's not evil, but he's Filch, which
yeah.
Filch is not a guy that you cheer for. And then in Game of Thrones, he's not a guy that you cheer for. So to have him be like that voice, be someone that you're cheering for, kind of was just like, oh, there's a little bit of I see you
Mm.
playing a good guy this time, and then yeah, there's just nothing like that I can say bad about the cast because each person was playing like just the voice inflection. You can really tell it wasn't just like an actor just reading a script; they were actually voice acting.
Yeah, that's I think the acting half of voice acting is where a lot of misconceptions happen because you'll see some voice performances and things, and we've seen it this year where it's they did the best they could, but they're just kind of reading words off a page. Whereas with this, I mean, this could have easily been live action the way they were getting into their roles and really giving a performance and not just speaking dialogue. Um, some nitpicks, we'll let's kind of get into those a little bit while we're here. I'm kind of with Boggs. I do think the middle drags a scotch. The movie's 2 hours long. You can probably shave off 10, maybe 15 minutes because after a while, it's just kind of like we're kind of in the same place for a little bit. Kind of where we're going, and it just kind of takes us a little while to actually get there. Um, that's kind of my big that's for me that's kind of my biggest nitpick is just it's a little slow in the middle. I think the very beginning, I think the first third and the last third, the act 1 and act 3 are spot on. Act 2 is good. It just moves a little slow for me. And Boggs, I know you're kind of in the same boat. You kind of feel the same way.
Yeah, definitely. So up until um, I forgot the son's name. Is it Carlo?
Carlo.
Carlo, right? Carlo.
Yeah.
Yeah. When Carlo died, from roughly around then to maybe when Pinocchio went to join the circus. That whole in between part was really really slow. I felt up until he kind of not ran away, but obviously left, and I was nearly checking out at that point. Like I was that bored. It was just not bored. It was just dragging. And I was thinking, and even like enjoying the third act, I felt getting uncomfortable. Like, oh, it should have finished by now. But because of the effort and time and resource that they've put in to the animation and things like that, I felt like they've kind of had to flex a little bit in terms of, oh, let's make this as experience as long as possible, make it feature length, possible award consideration and things like that. So yeah, it was definitely too long, and I felt it. Like, I understand that it's a family movie, and it definitely is. Obviously it's Pinocchio, but being 2 hours, are kids really going to sit there for a full length 2 hour movie with a touch a lot of dark themes and things like that? So I think, yeah, personally it was too long. Um, and I was a bit uncomfortable with it being too long. Like I wish it was about 90 minutes, 90, 100 minutes, something like that. That would be perfect. Um, yeah, and I kind of just wish um, we spent more time with the kind of, I'm going to call it fairy godmother because it's just the fairy or whatever. With that character, I really liked it, and as well, Jiminy Cricket. Cricket, I think they call him. I wish he was actually in it more. I really liked his narration, but him and Geppetto kind of just went missing for an hour of the movie. They were in the first half, and then they're in the last half. And obviously Pinocchio is going out on his adventures and stuff, but I kind of just they were my favorite characters, and I just kind of wish they were in the movie more. They all kind of came together at the end, but they were kind of just touches of them in the beginning of the movie. I could have done with more of them. Yeah, they were kind of my biggest issues really, because I was getting slightly irritated during the slower part. So yeah, there was nothing in particular. I remember like no one character or one musical number that I didn't like or anything like that. It's just it seemed like I was watching an extended cut of this when it should have been like 90 minutes, 100 minutes. So yeah, it's a long movie, and I just felt like it didn't need to be. That's definitely my biggest criticism.
And so, what about you?
For me, I disagree. I don't think it's a kids movie. I think it's a movie for just people that kids can happen to watch. Because if it was a kids movie, it would be 90 minutes. Because that's typically how kids movies are. So this is way too long. If it was something directed towards kids, I personally don't think it's directed towards kids. However, there are transition issues if I'm nitpicking between plot points. So like the transition seemed kind of, whereas like you have moments that are slow, and then the transition from one thing to another is like super rushed, and then it'll go back to being slow, and then I'll have like a rush. So it's like kind of just pacing issues that either there was a lot that Guillermo wanted to tell and a lot of like different plot points that he wanted to put in, that he could have taken a few of those out or tweaked it a little bit and have the pace be a little bit more, not have it be the same technically, but like have the pace be a little better throughout the middle part.
Mm.
But I'm fine with the length of the movie if the pacing wasn't as weird as it was in the middle. Cause yeah, it would go slow, fast, 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 slow, fast, fast, fast. Like it was like switching back and forth, and there was never really a like, oh, I have to rewind to see what just happened there because it like literally switched so quickly. And so there was a few times that I did that, and then there was times where I did look at my phone while like it was slow moments. So it was like, okay, where's the pacing going on here? But then you're
Yeah,
enjoying the animation and just like the look and the music and the feel of it while it's being slow.
and I think that's kind of the beauty of this movie is like even when the movie is being a little slow and uneven in the middle, what's happening on screen is still so impressive
Mm-hmm.
that it softens that blow a little bit. And kind of to take both of your points and put them together into one, yeah, it does feel a little bit too long. But I also I feel like this is, if you've got kids and you're thinking maybe you want to show them this movie, watch it by yourself first and then decide if your kids can handle it. Because, the first 15 minutes, a kid gets bombed in a church and his dad goes on a drunken tirade and violently chops down a tree to the point where I kind of felt bad for the tree a little bit. It's dark from jump.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some times in the movie where I mean we watch it, dude. Okay, you're fine. We're talking plot points, but spoiler alert. We watch our bad guy beat a monkey with a cane. I mean, like woof. It is a movie about life, but it's also very much about death. So I would say watch it before you show it to your kids because they might get a little freaked out, especially dealing with Nazi Italy, fascist Italy, as well as kind of a backdrop to this whole thing. So, yeah, keep that. But and so that goes to the point of like, yeah, I think if this was more, I think part of the reason too, it's as long as it is when you think about the process that is stop motion, you probably there's probably that mentality of if we shoot it, it's going in the movie because that 30 seconds took us 3 months to shoot. So if we shoot it, we're using it. I've wondered that sometimes how much really gets left on the cutting room floor of a stop motion animated movie. Cause it's like, you're telling me we took all the time to shoot that. Now we're not going to use it. Like that's a lot of man hours. So I wonder if maybe that came into it too, where it's like, look, let's just use everything we shot. Cause we've got it. Might as well.
Yeah, I'll say about the pacing of it. Yeah, there definitely is pacing issues. Sol's right. But for some reason, I kind of enjoyed that. Like, one scene would be, like you said, they'd be in a church talking about, religion and, the symbolism of Jesus Christ. And then it'll be a bomb, drop on them. And then they'll talk about, the bereavement, about the former kind of kid that he had, and then you've got this new kid and like some spirits coming in and like Jiminy Cricket, and then this Pinocchio's nose is great. Like it was all over the place like that. But I quite liked the hecticness of it because it was a bit unpredictable. Obviously, it's Pinocchio, so we all know the story. But in terms of especially the newer stuff that we got, like with all the Nazis and stuff, obviously, like you're saying, kind of proof watch it before you watch it as a family, or whatever. Because Geppetto's doing Nazi salutes, Pinocchio's doing Nazi salutes. The kids are doing it. They're in like a kids' little training camp. There's people getting shot in this. As I said, bombs dropping, weird creatures. So I did definitely like all that. And I did feel, although there are a lot of messages and symbolism in this movie, I didn't feel like I was necessarily getting preached to a lot, apart from the overall kind of stay pure-hearted, stay like good versus evil kind of thing. There was no other kind of political messages I felt like I was being dictated to about. It was like such a simple story, told beautifully, looks amazing, and yeah, I appreciated the simplicity of it. That people get second chances, and kind of how to cope with things, all these, multiple different messages in the movie. And and I think that it was a nice retelling of Pinocchio. Obviously, that's why I don't think, maybe because I've seen it, the original Disney movie so many times that it just didn't absolutely, it didn't leave, like it's just not, I've seen Pinocchio so many times that it just didn't had that magic impact I was expecting. I enjoyed myself, but it wasn't, it wasn't one of my favorites of the year or anything like that. So yeah, overall, yeah, there was so many interesting things in this movie, but it was good, not great for me personally.
I really think this movie leans into the we talk all the times about like if a movie can just be like, I don't care if it's, I just want it to be fun. And I think this one kind of goes almost in the opposite direction. Like it's masterful, it's artistic, and it's entertaining, but I would not describe this movie necessarily as fun. Like the original Disney, not the new one. The original Disney one is fun. The Boys is fun, whereas like this, or maybe when you compare it to other movies like big movies like Schindler's List, where it's like, is Schindler's List a fun movie? No. Is it a well-made movie? Absolutely. And this is kind of where that one's fallen for me. It's like the craftsmanship of this is jaw-dropping. I got to be in the right mood to watch this movie again.
Yeah.
So what about you? Like, where are you feeling with that?
I guess, like, for me, I'd probably watch it again. I very much enjoyed it. It's kind of like up my alley of like animation that also like has really not just like dark themes but important themes, and like really like makes you think afterwards. The fact that like in church there's like Jesus on the cross, like wooden, made out of wood, and then he's made out of wood, and he's like, why do they worship him but hate me, kind of thing, when I'm wood too. So like just those like the innocence of Pinocchio when he's asking some of those questions, and just like, and then I was thinking there and I was like, oh, that's speaking, and maybe I'm going like too deep in this and this is my analytical brain. I was like, oh, like some Christians today that like you're not supposed to judge and you're not supposed to hate, but they do anyways. Like, and then like just like other like things that I was like just picking up here and there where I'm like, oh, you could really like go deep in this and like write like an essay on the themes and like go into it. Not that I'm gonna do that. I don't got time to do that. But there's like just like rewatchability in that, like to pick up these little things, especially about war, when speaking about where you have like, oh, you can't die, you're the perfect soldier, kind of thing. But then also you have Geppetto saying war is terrible, and like the fight of like those themes. And so it was just, I very much enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to like about it. I think it's just going to
Mhm.
depend on the person when ultimately comes into watching it. How much does it sit with you? This is one of those like, where are you at in your life movies is really going to affect how you view this one now versus like a year from now or whatever. Overall, I don't have a whole lot else personally to say on this. It was it was such a very good movie. I had a feeling going into it that it was going to be just a very good movie. I did not expect to come out of this like I messaged you guys in our group chat. I was like, oh, they from the beginning, like they did not pull any punches with this, and I was very impressed with that. And also I really felt, just kind of give my final thoughts here. I really felt Guillermo's love for this story. And when, you know, I hear that it took him, that he's been working on this for 15 years, I can really tell, because like the level of detail and precision and just care that went into this really comes off the screen. And I commend that. And I'm very curious to see how the audience at large reacts to this over the next couple of weeks. Bogz, any final thoughts you'd like to give here?
Yeah, I already mentioned it. Like, I feel like you're right. I mean, you could tell Guillermo del Toro's passion for this story and the messages it has. Like, I feel like he was like saying, "You think you know Pinocchio? Now I'm going to show you what this story is, or what the kind of messages are via my style of storytelling, which is like in a kid through a kid's eyes." You know, showing like them the pure side of the world and the kind of evil side of the world, which tends to always be Nazis, by the way. So just via that story, and yeah, and a lot of good points. You know, definitely worth watching. I mean, you know, it's, if you're gonna watch a Pinocchio movie this year, you probably watch this one. Yeah, I had fun with it, but yeah, just make sure you've got time to watch it because it's long. But yeah, it's not necessarily a Christmas movie, but it is a family movie, I feel like. So got obviously a lot of messages in there and things like that. So yeah, nice time to watch this time of year, as in to watch. But yeah, overall I thought it was good. I was maybe expecting to like it a little bit more. Maybe if I watch it again, I might think differently. But yeah, it was made brilliantly. Voice acting was great. I had fun with it. You know, yeah, a lot of charm to it as well. So yeah, overall glad I watched it, but not my favorite of the year or anything like that. But I'm sure it'll be up for consideration for how it's, you know, for awards, how it was made and things like that. So yeah, overall, yeah, not bad.
So what about you? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree that if you're gonna watch a Pinocchio 2022, watch this animated one and not the live action one that came out earlier. Um, Netflix just killing it right now with the animated movies between Scrooge and this one. So it's very good. It's very like artfully made. I feel like I need to watch it a few more times. Maybe I'll enjoy the middle part more of like the pacing stuff. But there's a lot of stuff that I really did enjoy of this movie, and yeah, I think I need to like sit and watch it and like put my phone away so that way I'm not looking at my phone in the middle to really like pay attention, because there are some like themes that you can really like get into with this. So I enjoyed it.
Well, that's what we think of Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, guys. We'd love to hear what you think, so make sure you let us know down in the comments below. You can let us know on Twitter. All of our stuff's in the bio. You make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and we will see you guys again here next time for another episode of Off the Wall. Bye.